Hi everyone, and welcome to the Stitch Sessions, and welcome to June's installment of our Year of the Bride crochet series. This month we are making a beautiful bridal lace cufflet, and it's a great little accessory for the bride that wants to add a little bit of crochet but doesn't want something that's going to overwhelm her whole ensemble. And I've seen people do crochet lace chokers, and so I thought a cufflet might make a nice little add-on as well. It could be a very small little accessory, would make for a beautiful gift, and it's also quite simple to make. It doesn't take very long. You could make one or a set of two. And as you can see, I've embellished it with a little, a pretty little bauble here or two to act as buttons that you can use to fasten around the wrist. And you can, of course, make this as embellished as you want, or you can keep it as subtle as you like. And I'm really happy with how this turned out. We used a fine weight yarn, and it just makes for just a beautiful accessory. So I think you're really going to enjoy this project, and it's a great way to help you see how you can stretch your own ability, but still keeping things simple, elegant, and beautiful. And I think it would be something any bride or anyone would really appreciate receiving, especially if they are attending a lot of other formal events. So let's just dive right into this project. I think you're really going to enjoy it, and I can't wait to get you guys started. So let's get all of our materials together and let's get stitching. Okay, so here we go. Here are the things you're going to need for your lace cufflet. And the yarn I'm using for this, you definitely want to use a lightweight yarn, especially if you want to accentuate the laciness of it. I have used this Peyton's Grace for other projects, for things like tops, etc. So this is a lightweight 3 yarn. There are 50 grams in this ball, 50 grams or 125 meters, which, I mean, for our purposes, you're not even going to put a dent in this. I love this yarn because it is a beautiful quality yarn, and it is mercerized cotton, which makes it a little bit easier to care for. So that's what you're going to need. I happen to be using this in the color Snow. And for this yarn, they do recommend using a 3.75 millimeter hook. Wow, that's the first time I've actually matched my hook. That is the hook that I am using. It's also known as an F or a size 3. I'm not sure if it's coming through okay on the camera, but this is usually the smallest hook that I will go for, just because, as many crocheters out there that I know of, I don't quite have the patience level for anything smaller than this. Usually when I pick up yarns like this, they sometimes even recommend something as small as a 2.5 or a 3. But I find a 3.75 for me is plenty to work with any of the fine weight yarns. So that's the hook I'm going to use. And of course, always make sure that you have a pair of handy scissors on by, as well as a darning needle to sew in your ends. And actually, you should also have a thread needle, for this, which I happen to have right on hand. And the reason for that is you're also going to want to have a button. Now I've got a couple here because I haven't quite decided which one I'm going to use, because you want to have a button to be able to fasten your cuff. I'm not going to be using an elastic or anything like that. So I haven't decided if I just want something simple and clear like that, or I found this one that has a little bit of a kind of an iridescent tone to it. And I think against the white, that would look really pretty. So just have a couple here. You're only going to need one. So just make sure to have that on hand for later. So let's get cooking. Let's get started here. Okay, so we're going to begin by placing a slip knot on our hook. And what we're going to do is we're going to begin by chaining 9. 2, 3, 4, and 9. And once you've chained 9, you're just going to have something that looks like that. Okay, make sure it's not twisted. You can see those are the back bumps. Once you've got 9 chains, you want to find the 6th chain from the hook. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is right here. And we want to place a double crochet into that spot. Okay, so just going to pull through 2 and 2. Then what we're going to do is we're going to proceed to do 2 more double crochets into the same stitch. So what we are working on creating here is a split shell. So hopefully many of you know what a shell stitch is. It's when you stitch 3 double crochets into 1 stitch. So technically we have a shell right there. But what's going to make it a split shell is the fact that we're going to chain 1 and then do 3 more double crochets back into that same stitch. Now it is going to stretch it out a little bit, but don't panic. So in essence, our shell is going to have 6 double crochets in it with a space in the center. So that's why I call it a split shell. So I've got my 3rd one here. Okay, so you can see that stitch got really, really stretched out. That's okay, we're not going to worry about it. And then you can see that chain 1 just creates a little bit of space on the top. Okay, so if I take that out, so we had the 6 chains, so 2 of these chains count as a spacer and 3 of them count as the height of a double crochet stitch. I know it's looking like, you probably can't tell what it looks like right now. In the early stages of these type of fine projects, it's always kind of a little bit hard to visualize in the beginning, but we are getting there. So that's what we've got so far. And then what we want to do is we want to skip 2 chains, 1 and 2, and into the 3rd chain, which is our last chain, we're going to place 1 double crochet. And that is the end of row 1. Can be a little finicky with the fine yarn. Okay, so row 1 looks like this. You've got your split shell in the center, and you've got 2 chain spaces, or 2 chains for a space on each side, and then a double crochet. So remember, this 3 of these chains is going to count as a double crochet. Okay, I'm going to move on to row 2. So for row 2, this is how we're going to begin all subsequent rows. We're going to chain 3, and you'll turn your work. And now what we're going to do is we're going to just find that space in the shell, that split, and we're going to place another split shell inside of here. So that means we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 3 double crochets. It's as easy as that. So once you've got the chain space created of each shell, you're just going to always find the chain space. I'm going to create chain 1 and 3 more double crochets, and you're just going to keep placing each split shell on top of the previous split shell. Sorry guys, I just realized I'm kind of motoring through these double crochets, but at this point I am working on assuming that you are comfortable with a double crochet stitch. And just in case you need a little extra refresher, I will place a link in the description box down below for my official double crochet tutorial. But I'll slow down a little bit here just in case you need a little refresher. Once you've done your split shell inside the split shell, you are going to now find the top of the chain 3 of the previous row. So remember, this is about 5 chains we have here. So you might want to turn over your work, and we know this V belongs to this last post here. So the chain is actually going to be right there. So that might be the trickiest part of this project, is just finding that chain sometimes. And I'm just holding the bottom there because I don't want the stitch to stretch out too much. So row 2 is complete. So you can see this shell is on top of the previous shell, okay? And you're gonna die laughing at how easy this is. This is it. This is all you're gonna repeat until you get the length that you are looking for to wrap around your wrist. Or in fact, you could make this as a choker as well, but I'm gonna use it as a cufflet. So I'm going to take you through row 3, the repeat again. So we're going into row 3. So you will always begin by chaining 3. Then I turn my work. We're going to find that chain 1 space and just simply place another split shell into that. So we have 1 double crochet, yarn over, insert into the space again to pull up a loop. Pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. That's second double crochet. We repeat that for a third double crochet, all back in that space, okay? Now we're going to chain 1, place our hook right back into that same space. I know it must seem like, wow, these are a lot of stitches going into this space, but I promise you it will sit nicely. And our last double crochet back into that space, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. And I love, another reason why I love this yarn for projects like this, it's dainty, but it still has a wee bit of sturdiness to it. So because I'm going to use it as a cufflet, it's just got a little bit, just a little something to it that I really, really like. It's a stiffness, that's what it is. So it'll sit nicely, okay? And then we just find the top of that chain 3 from the previous row. So I can see mine is right there. And I'll place a double crochet. So essentially each row is going to be flanked by a double crochet stitch. Usually the first one is always a chain 3. The second one is the actual double crochet. So now after row 3, you can really see how it's taking shape here, okay? So you always chain 3, do a split shell inside the previous split shell, then find the top of your chain 3 of the previous row and double crochet. That's it, that's all, okay? So I think I'm gonna leave you to continue on and do the length that you need for your wrist or whoever's wrist you're working on this for. And then I'll meet back up with you here when you've reached your desired length. And then we're going to talk about doing the trim around our edges. Okay, guys, so I have done a total of 15 rows of my split shells here. And so my work looks something like this. So I've kind of done some testing. I say I pretty much have an average sized hand and wrist. So I don't want it to be too snug, but I don't want it to be too loose. So I just kind of test it here. And I know that I at least want these 2 tips to meet. Okay, and so I'm pretty happy with that. Isn't that pretty? We're going to add some more little finishing touches to it. And I actually, instead of those buttons I actually found these little, I don't know what you'd call them, I guess little beads that I'm repurposing from an old bracelet. And I think this will just kind of take it up over the edge into kind of just that delicate, lovely, lacy flare. But we'll get to that in a second. I was really excited over that find. Okay, so let's put a really beautiful finishing edge here. Many of you know that I love my finishing edges. So here's what we're going to do. We've just finished our last shell and I've just done the last double crochet. So I'm going to chain 1. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right back into that last stitch I did there. I'm going to insert, and then I'm just going to insert into the loop, the top loop there of that double crochet. And I just like doing that because it helps me kind of round the bend here, okay? Because what we're going to do next is we're going to work down the sides of these rows here, okay? So this side, mostly we've had chain 3s. Generally, when we're working into the sides of double crochets, we say that you can fit 2 single crochets into the side of a double, and that's what we're going to be using is single crochets now. So I've gone through the first part of that double crochet, and now I'm just going to take advantage of this spot right here, and I'm going to insert my hook and do a single crochet. This will also take some kind of eyeballing, basically. You want to see that it sits nicely. Actually, I'm really happy with that. That it doesn't bunch or kind of start to ripple. So my next one, I think I'm going to place right there and single crochet. And then I'm going to place it next in here. And that's basically what you're going to do all the way down the edge here. So again, I'm just kind of stopping to make sure it looks okay. I think I'm okay with that. So I'm going to go into the bottom half of the double crochet here. And it's basically, you just want to find a spot that looks good, that feels good to you. And then just keep eyeballing it. How does it look to you? Okay. Now I'm going to go into the next space that I think would work. Single crochet. And what I'm looking for is I just want to make sure that it stays nice and even and straight. Very nice. So you can see now it's just adding a little extra fortification on each side, and it'll just give it that nice solid finish that we're looking for. So not a long project, but you want it done well, especially if it's going to be an accessory on such an important day for whoever you're making it for, right? For your bride. So go ahead and continue doing that all the way down to the end. And then I'm going to meet you just at the corner there. So you're going to go all the way to the end. And I'm just going to meet you once you get to the corner here just to talk about coming up around the way. Okay guys, so I've sewn in all of my ends here. And so there you have the finished cufflet. Now, like I said before, you can actually make this into a choker if you want. You can make it a little bit longer, but I'm very happy with the cufflet. And you can, of course, make 2 of these if you like. It's totally up to you. But I just think it's such a great way to use a crochet item and incorporate it in a very subtle and dainty way into a wedding theme. Add a little accessory. It will make for a great gift, something a little thoughtful from the heart, and it doesn't take away from any of the other beautiful items that I'm sure your bride is going to have. Now, for the fun part, the buttons. So initially, I had said that you should have some buttons and some regular needle and thread, but I came across this old bracelet of mine that I haven't worn in probably a million years, but I always loved bracelets like this. Lots of little baubles, makes little sounds. And I thought, I was feeling like this needed some type of embellishment. Now, if you want to, you can take this a step further and use some fabric sequins if you want to add a little bit of sequins to it. With some fabric glue. I mean, you can really go to town. You can kind of do whatever you want, but I just thought this needed a little something. So I was looking at these little baubles here, and I have not worn this bracelet in ages. So what I did is I got my trusty pliers, and I just pried a couple of them off of there. So I just kind of pried open the little hook on it there, and that's all I needed. I just wanted something a little dainty again, like I said. So what we're doing here is the top of the shell is going to be the opening for my button. And this little chain here, which actually is the first chain we did, we're going to attach our little baubles here to it. So super easy. I think you guys will die laughing when you see how easy this is. So I've opened that little hook part there with the pliers. Now I just want to insert it somewhere. I want to get at least 2 loops of thread so that it just sits nice and strongly there. So I'm probably going to try and hook it into the chain. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. Hook it into the chain and maybe pick up one of these loops here. Whoops. Can be a bit fiddly. There we go. So once it's in there, and I'm happy as to where it is, I'm just going to take my pliers and I'm going to close it back up. So I'm just going to grab it like that and whoops. I want to squeeze it shut. Be careful not to break it. Whoop, just like that. Oh, that was very easy. See, so it just kind of dangles there. Now I'm going to take the other one and I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm going to keep them relatively close together. It's very kind of fiddly, so there we go. So actually I got them in the same spot, so I'm pretty happy with that. And again, I just take my pliers and I just gently, I just want to squeeze the two ends together. Do I have the right spot here? I know it's probably hard for you guys to see, but I can see. Okay. Whoops, there we go. So just kind of nestle them together. And there you have it. Two really pretty little baubles, and these will serve as your button. Now, how is that going to serve as your button? So once you place it on the bride's wrist, you just bring this forward and you're just going to push one, just like that. Now you can push both of them through if you want, but really the opening is sewn well enough that it's not going to come undone. And look at how lovely that came out. I am so happy with that. That looks much more regal, if that's a term, instead of just a plain button. Now, of course, if you can get to a store these days, during this filming, we were still in the global quarantine due to the pandemic. But if you can maybe find it on Amazon or Michael's online, if you wanted to kind of find embellished buttons, you can. But I am super happy with finding that, repurposing an old bracelet, and it just elevated this to a whole new level. I just think it's quintessential. I'm so excited. I don't even know what else to tell you guys. I am super excited about how this came out. And I am very happy to give this as a gift because I know a couple of brides that are getting married this year. So there you have it, guys. There is the lace crocheted cufflet. And of course, you can make two of these and see, super quick and simple. So, actually, this has probably been the easiest of the bridal projects so far, I would say. So now, in case you have any questions at all, you can always leave me a comment in the comment box down below, or you can email me directly at info@crochetcrafty.com. And I'm always happy to answer your questions. You can also always find me on Instagram at The Stitch Sessions. And of course, I always love it when you guys tag me on the work that you do based on my designs. I'm always curious and really interested in how people interpret the designs to their liking. And now, one other thing that you could do if you want this to kind of sit a little bit stiffer is you can add some spray starch to this to have it sit a little bit more stiffly. That's totally up to you. All right, my friends, I'm going to leave it there for today. Now, make sure if you haven't subscribed already and you're really liking these tutorials, make sure that you do so. And that way you'll always know when I upload a new tutorial. I upload a new video every Wednesday morning, and sometimes we throw in a few extra little crochet quick chats and crochet conversations for added bonus. Now, so in the meantime, everyone, have an amazing day. Happy crocheting. Take good care, and I'll see you in the next session.